This is one of my pet peeves, one of those things that grind my gears. So, I don't know if you've heard, but if you've been watching the news lately, then you know that Carnival just lost a lawsuit and is being forced to pay out $300,000 to a lady named Diana Sanders. The reason? Alcoholism. So, if you haven't been on a cruise ship before, let me put it in perspective with two words: drunk adults. Mostly. Mostly. That's pretty much that's the only way to define a cruise ship, is just a bunch of really, really drunk people just all over the place. So apparently what happened was she had, over the course of about 8 hours, she was given 14 tequila shots. And with Carnival, the max is 15 per day. That's the limit. That's the ceiling that you're not allowed to go beyond. That's heaven's gates. So she hit 14, and it's kind of incentive where you paid for the whole package. I might as well use the whole package. So 14 drinks is pretty stellar. Most people probably only hit maybe 6 or 7, depending on how much you drink. If you're a bigger dude, you might realistically hit that 13, 14 drinks a day. But most of the time, you're probably not going to hit the 15 drink limit. But she did. She hit 14. 14 tequila shots. Just down the hatch. 1, 2, 3, 4, as quick as possible. And I guess it left her inebriated to the point where she could no longer walk. And basically, the cruise ship is taking the fault. Basically, she came out and sued. Basically, she fell down the stairs, ended up hitting her head, and ended up with a brain injury. So she came back and pursued Carnival with a lawsuit, saying that it was the cruise ship's fault, the bartenders, the servers, for not cutting her off sooner. So I have a problem with this. Specifically, the fact that for some reason in modern day America, people no longer will take accountability for their own actions. Like, the consequence is always laid on someone else, usually being the corporation. In the past, for an example, I would go with that lady. I can't remember if her kid was 4 or 3, but she had her toddler in the back seat. They're driving down the interstate, and pretty much she's like, "Hey boy, here's your Happy Meal," and she gave her 4-year-old this Happy Meal with hot nuggets. So that's a rarity in itself, getting hot nuggets from McDonald's. Usually they're lukewarm, if not luke cold. So the fact that she got piping hot chicken nuggets is crazy. And I would have been ecstatic at just that alone. I would have been like, wow, I don't give a damn that you burned yourself. Like, at this point, mainly just because I'm so surprised that we got hot nuggets. Like, how can I be mad about that? Like, they have one job and they usually fail it. So the one time that they do give you hot nuggets, you got to be more than pleased. But anyway, she hands her son these nuggets, and he ends up dropping a nugget in between his thighs and starts burning the hell out of himself. She's driving down the highway, so she just hears him going ballistic in the back seat, and she was basically in a situation where she's like, I couldn't pull over, and he's in the back seat screaming, and he's got this hot nugget in between his legs, and yeah, apparently he got like 2nd or 3rd degree burns on his thighs, and she came in and sued McDonald's for having hot food. What a damn shame. What we've come to. Suing the corporation because they gave you hot food. So, yeah, she sues and she wins, and she was awarded $800,000. $800,000. Not $800. For $800 wouldn't cover anything at a hospital anymore, but $800,000 for that. That is absolutely insane. And the punishment that because trickle down economics works so well. So the punishment in theory is that McDonald's, because that's the thing. When I first saw that lawsuit, I was like, wow. A chicken nugget, for it to be cooked, what is the standard? 165 degrees. So this nugget has to be 165 degrees minimum. So they throw it in this oil, and it's probably gonna hit about 200. then, by the time it goes in the box, is handed to him, hand it to that child, that nugget might be 180, maybe 160, maybe 140, depending on how fast it starts to cool. I know that whenever I get chicken nuggets, they might be hot when I grab them, but by the time I'm through my 10-piece meal, my last nugget is cold. I can guarantee that. I can guarantee that every time. But anyways, so I can't picture that the nugget was that hot, but for whatever reason, it was that hot. And they established that the nugget was much too hot. So the repercussions are, of course, where now, across McDonald's, they're going to be like, well, the nuggets can no longer be served fresh. So now, permanently, you're probably not going to get hot nuggets because this one woman refuses to take accountability for the fact that she handed her son food that was too hot. Like, I feel like that should be her fault, not the corporation's fault. And it's so rare, so seldom that I am on the side of the corporation. But this is one of those situations where I am on the side of the corporation, and they're the devil. That's something when you're on the side of the devil. Anyways, going back to the story I was talking about initially, where she just got awarded $300,000 for drinking tequila that she willingly drunk. Like, when you get on a boat, you take the drink package to save money. Well, sometimes not to save money, but to drink. The goal of being on the boat is to drink. But you have to establish that at a certain point, you are so inebriated that you should not drink anymore. And I feel like that accountability should be on you. Because if I go and I drink 14 tequila shots and I go hop in a car, I can't blame BMW for building that vehicle and be like, well, if I wouldn't have owned a BMW, then I wouldn't have gotten that DUI. It's their fault. No, it's not their fault. It's my fault. I downed the liquid. I knew what would happen, and I should suffer the consequences. And the consequences in this situation should have been the car crash. For her, it should have been a headache. But it's not. It's payment. Isn't that a bitch? That's a bitch right there. Because the future of this is going to be, Carnival's going to be like, all right, now the ceiling is now 13 drinks. Because, they're going to be like, if 14's the max, then might as well start giving out 13. But for, 14 shots in, she was fucked up after 6. We already know. So, the fact that she just kept on drinking over, this 8-hour time frame, it's her fault. It is her fault blatantly. Like, there's no way that you can convince me otherwise that this was anybody else's fault but her own. And for whatever reason, in this society, we are rewarding the lack of accountability, and it's become a problem. It has really become a problem. And I can tell so many stories about just bad parenting in general. This is kind of, going down a different rabbit hole, but there's so many bad parents that are blaming corporations for just everything. That brings up the lawsuit that Meta just lost for being too addictive for children, specifically. And I feel like that is your fault as a parent. Like, if you decide to come home and put your kid that is 2 in front of a TV, in front of an iPad, in front of a laptop, and they sit there and they watch TikTok videos, Facebook Reels, for whatever reason, if they have a Facebook. I don't think 2-year-olds have Facebooks, but if they did, they're probably, well, Facebook Reels is kind of terrible, so they're probably not watching Facebook Reels. Facebook in general is just a cesspool because of the fact that there's just blatant porn on Facebook. But, it's your fault as a parent. Like, you shouldn't, that's not Facebook's fault that there's blatant porn on it. Facebook will let anybody put an ad up there. I could have a literal picture of my meat just out, and I could be like, hey, this is, I need this posted as an ad. Like, what's the ad for? What the ad's being used for don't matter. They don't care about that. They just care that I paid for it. But anyways, yeah, so, you got these 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds that are all, all the way up to 6, 7-year-olds that are hooked on TikTok, and they're just addicted to it, where they cannot function without, their TikTok reels, their UTalk, their UTalk. They're hooked on, the UTalk. That's something new. That would be a terrible place. I wouldn't want to go there. But anyways, you got these children that are hooked on YouTube and TikTok, and they can't live without it. Their attention spans have been decimated, like to the point where, you know, this one lady was telling a story about how her kid, like, without TikTok for a couple hours, will just go ballistic and just start screaming and yelling, and I'm just like, that's your fault. That is your fault. That 2-year-old should not be hooked on TikTok at his age. What is wrong with you? You're a terrible parent. Like, I understand that, you know, you have to work and that you have to sleep, but you also have to parent. Like, that is not an exception to the, like, there is no exceptions here. You had that child. Now take care of them. You can't blame them for your problems. Like, what you did to that child is your fault. And everybody always has to cast blame out somewhere else. And I always feel like that ends up with consequences for the rest of us who are normal and, you know, don't have 2-year-olds. Well, I don't have any kids, but who don't have kids that are hooked on TikTok. And, you know, I want to watch YouTube memes of SpongeBob on the mini player, but can't because that's too addictive for children, apparently, to watch YouTube memes in the freaking mini reel. Like, that doesn't even make sense. What do you mean videos marked for kids can't be watched in the mini player? That doesn't make any sense. How does this make it more addictive? What changes? I can't watch children videos in the background? What is wrong with the corporations? Are stupid. And then the rules that they put in place to fix all of this are even worse. That's the problem. Everything is so stupid now. And I hate this place now. I hate being here. Why are we here? What is the purpose of this? Like, we need a higher power to come and fix this. Smite us, destroy us, send us to the Shadow Realm, you know, do whatever they gotta do. But I'm tired of this. I am so tired of this. It's ridiculous. But anyways, that's all I got.